The King's Avatar, Chapter 1473 Learning from the Opponent. Audio source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1473, Learning from the Opponent. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The sound of the rotor wing was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. To Blue Rain's people, it sounded like cruel, mocking laughter. The situation had gotten to this kind of unsavable point. Soul Speaker was abducted into the wind zone by those two fighters, and Lord Grim was using rotor wing to fly that way as well. Sumo Chung's Dancing Rain was a long-range attacker, standing at relatively safe position. And Wenyi had also long since controlled Little Cold Hands to circle around from afar, preemptively destroying any thought Blue Rain might have had at a healer exchange. There was no other way. Only one path was left to Blue Rain: enter the wind zone, against the wind. But as the ones who had chosen this map, Blue Rain knew better than anyone else how unfavorable fighting upwind in this gale wind zone would be. Would knowing the disadvantages allow them to avoid the risk? Things clearly weren't that simple. But facing such a severe situation, Blue Rain didn't panic. In their chat, message after message from Captain Yuanzu jumped onto the screen. Crippled hand, that was only relative. Crippled hands in the professional circle would still be at the top among ordinary gamers. The instructions were methodically issued, and without any hesitation, Blue Rain's players began following directions. Fighting directly upwind absolutely could not work. Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan, one left and one right, circled around from the two sides, echoing the hook Fang Rui had taken at the very beginning. They couldn't leave the center path empty either, though. Lu Hanwen's Greatsword Blade Master Flowing Cloud took charge. But the true main attacker of this arrangement was Yu Wenzu's Swaxar. Curses. Only Swaxar's curses wouldn't be affected by the gales. That was to say, he himself suffered no disadvantages from fighting upwind. And so Swaxar immediately began to cast. Every second they were slow here, their healer Soul Speaker would take one more second of attack. Doubt, hesitation, consideration, none of that belonged to Blue Rain right now. The guidelines to their actions right now consisted of only one word: fast. Quickly disrupt them from the front, quickly have two characters circle around from the left and right. Happy, of course, wouldn't sit and watch Blue Rain arrange their pincer formation. Dancing Rain opened fire first, aiming her cannon at Swaxar. Sumo Chung was always closely paying attention to the movements of the character that Yu Wenzu controlled. Boom. The shell exploded, but Swaxar continued casting, uninterrupted. Lu Hanwen's Flowing Cloud had stepped up, using his Greatsword Flame Shadow to directly knock aside the shell. The shell exploded upon impact. Swaxar was perfectly protected, and Lu Hanwen's Flowing Cloud had only suffered a little bit of damage from the airflow of the explosion. But this one moment of cover clearly wasn't enough. What Yu Wenzu was controlling Swaxar to cast evidently wasn't one of the small spells that could be completed in an instant. It's all up to me. Lu Hanwen. This child player who had joined the Alliance at age 14 and who hadn't yet reached age 16, was already incredibly used to taking up this kind of heavy responsibility on the battlefield. From day one of Blue Rain lifting him into the first-string roster, they dropped him in this position. And this was what had formerly been Yu Feng's position, bold and ringing, the head of Blue Rain's train. A fledgling child became Team Blue Rain's attack leader. In the beginning, many people didn't understand Blue Rain's arrangement, and even called it insane. But Lu Hanwen's performance swiftly silenced those voices. Looking at him, some even saw the Alliance's Xing future. Lu Hanwen himself never thought that much. In the beginning, he was just excited at being able to stand on stage, a pure and simple excitement. A burden to shoulder. The expectations of too many people. All that a 14-year-old child could feel of these things was haziness. No one deliberately pointed these out to him, and so, in this haze, Lu Hanwen began his professional career. He won in this haze, he lost in this haze. He cried in this haze, he laughed in this haze. And thus gradually, the haze dissipated, and he began to sense that standing on the battlefield wasn't merely a proof of ability, but an inheritance of responsibility and obligation. He needed to inherit all that the Blue Rain players who had stood in this position before him had carried. The 14-year-old child didn't retreat at all. It was as though he had found a new and intriguing toy, as he began to taste this all. But this certainly was no toy. This was certainly much heavier than a child's imagination. And for this, Lu Hanwen had cried the tears of regret. The tears washed over him, allowing him to grow. Even though he was only in his teens, Lu Hanwen was a true man. Every time he cried, he only became stronger and more determined. And now, he carried this upon his shoulders, with no turning back. He was no longer in the haziness of before. He had the courage, he had the faith to carry this all. It's up to me, Lu Hanwen firmly told himself. He did not want to again spill tears of regret after playoffs. Flowing Cloud closely guarded Swaksar. He didn't miss any attack angle that could potentially interrupt Swaksar's casting. At this moment, there were no seniors to help him. It was all up to him. Boom boom boom. In the end, the person most focused on this area was still Su Mucheng. After the attack that Lu Hanwen had blocked, Dancing Rain unleashed the 3 shots of an anti-tank missile. 3 shots in a row, it'll be difficult. But, I can't miss a single one. Lu Hanwen welcomed this challenge. Flowing Cloud stepped forward, and his sword slashed out. A great sword wasn't as nimble as a lightsaber. Flowing Cloud's slash was heavy, unchanging, but the character's position, the timing of the attack, the character attacking, were all controlled extremely well. Boom. First shot. Boom. Second shot. The blade flashed forward, breaking 2 of the shots, and then stopped in the air. Boom. The third shot exploded. Lu Hanwen had incredible eyesight and reaction speed. This, he had just displayed in the hazy forest of the group arena. But this one slash detonating all 3 cannon shots still incited a full stadium of applause. But it wasn't over yet. In the wind zone, Fang Rui and Steamed Bun were fighting 2v1 against a healer. How busy could they be? Seeing that Yu Wenzu was coming to disrupt Hem head-on, they prepared for the enemy. And seeing that someone was guarding him, even blocking the cannon fire from Dancing Rain, they of course would cooperate to attack him. Chi Bullet. Boundless Sea's palm pushed forward. Interrupting a skill didn't need a lot of damage, as long as the skill was fast enough. For a Chi Master, a Chi Bullet could be sent out with one push, so of course it was the most convenient choice for this. But this kind of low-damage skill was much appreciated by the one guarding Swaksar. Lu Hanwen had just finished dealing with Su Mucheng's attack when he saw Boundless Sea slapping a Chi Bullet in this direction. Without even thinking, Flowing Cloud stepped to Swaksar's other side and directly used his body to block the Chi Bullet. A lowest level skill, how much damage could there be? Damn it. Fang Rui wasn't polite as he expressed his frustration in the match chat. These disruptive attacks were all blocked by Lu Hanwen. But Swaksar still hadn't finished casting, so his duty was yet unfinished. Both sides readied more attacks, and on another side, and when Yi wasn't idling around either. Little Cold Hands joined as well, lifting her cross-facing Swaksar, and swinging it left and right like a pendulum. Hypnosis. And Wen Yi, taking advantage of the fact that no one was disrupting him on his end, actually also began a very intensive spell. He was trying to get Swaksar to stop his work entirely. Wuxia Lu Hanwen saw it, but he really could do nothing about it. A cleric's hypnosis had a long cast time, so if he wanted to stop it, he had to do it now. If the interrupt wasn't successful, then it would land upon the target with 100% guarantee. But Lu Hanwen's flowing cloud wasn't any long-ranged attacker, and Wen Yi had quite cunningly positioned Little Cold Hands in a position that wasn't nearby. Interrupting Little Cold Hands was truly outside the range of Lu Hanwen's ability. Was this it? Was he once again unable to help the team in their most dire moments? Gunshot. Little Cold Hand's swinging of the cross instantly stopped. The interrupt was successful, and there was only one person on Blue Rain's side who could use gunner attacks, Zheng Xuan. In the team round, you are never alone on the battlefield. Lu Hanwen thought of his captain's words, and felt fortunate, felt proud. Their Blue Rain was just this kind of team, accepting the unmotivated Zheng Xuan, accepting the chatterbox Huang Shaoshan, accepting the slow-handed captain. And he, this fledgling, inexperienced kid, wasn't he also accepted by everyone? Accepting each other, covering each other's weaknesses, Blue Rain came together into a cohesive whole. When Lu Hanwen lamented that he wasn't enough, his teammate easily helped him take care of the problem. Zheng Xuan helped Lu Hanwen deal with this problem, and Lu Hanwen himself was still helping his captain deal with the problem. Zheng Xuan succeed, and so, shortly after, he succeed as well. The cast was complete. Purple-black light flashed to the tip of the scepter. Death's Door. With such a long cast time, the audience had guessed early on what this skill probably was. And now that Swaksar had finally completed the cast, nothing could stop it. Death's Door, erected into the void, didn't suffer any disruption from the wind zone. The Death's Door and the Gale were like two-dimensionally separate objects encountering each other, but each existing in its own world, unable to interact with each other. It and the wind were on separate dimensions, but with Boundless Sea, with Steamed Bun Invasion, with Lord Grimm, it was on the same plane. And so when a character crashed into the Death's Door, it immediately unleashed all of its demonic power, attempting to swallow this guy into nothingness. Of course, it couldn't actually swallow this character, this was just how the skill would deal its final damage. Under the gazes of the silent and shocked audience, the Death's Door trembled, and along with the character that had crashed into it, shattered into a mess of purple-black light and shadow. The Death's Door vanished. What shocked everyone was that such a fast method of dealing with the Death's Door was the exact same method that Yu Wenzu had used in the last team round, against Wei Chen's Death's Door. In this match, Happy had already learned and copied it. End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1474. Can't Waver. Audio source, WuxiaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1474, Can't Waver. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Death's Door disappeared, having quickly fulfilled its destiny. Amidst the light of the disappearing Death's Door, looking as if it intended to devour everything, the one who fell was Lord Grimm. Yi Shu had copied what Yu Wenzu had done, but when everyone thought on it, they couldn't understand how this had happened. This was because the situation Happy was facing was different from what Yu Wenzu had been met with. When Yu Wenzu was up against the Death's Door, there was only one target in range, his Swaksar. So, when Swaksar collided with the Death's Door ended. But now, it wasn't just Lord Grimm within reach of this Death's Door. There was also Boundless Sea and Steamed Bun Invasion. You could even say that the intended target of this attack was Boundless Sea and Steamed Bun Invasion. Under these circumstances, there was no reason for Death's Door to disappear after catching only one of its targets. "What's going on?" Pan Lin questioned, recovering from his shock. "How strange." Li Yibo tagged on, not having any intentions to try and explain this. He couldn't figure it out either. Never mind those two, even Yu Wenzu, a god-level warlock player, was puzzled at the disappearance of the Death's Door. In fact, due to his familiarity with the skill, it was even weirder for him. How did this Death's Door disappear? Was there some unknown characteristic of Death's Door that all these players didn't know of? In this moment Yu Wenzu suddenly thought of their senior, their old captain, Wei Chen, now a member of Happy. Wei Chen was definitely one of the very first amongst warlock players, or even players in general. He had persisted for 10 years, an amazing achievement. After all, Wei Chen hadn't been a pro player for large majority of those years, just a normal player. It was perfectly normal for a normal player to get tired of a class and switch. It was truly rare for a normal player to remain playing the same class for 10 years. At that point it was true love. For their old captain Wei Chen, it really was true love for the warlock. So, perhaps, this unknown characteristic of Death's Door was something he discovered. As for Yi Xiu, he was just using Wei Chen's discovery and taking advantage of the bug to end the Death's Door early against the skill's design. No, it wasn't against the skill's design. They had probably used a detail of the design that no one else knew about. What was it? Though Yu Wenzu was curious, there wasn't any point in agonizing over it now. Today's match had given him all too many questions. Yu Wenzu still hadn't figured out how Yi Xiu had managed to pinpoint so accurately where to set the shadow trap. However, he didn't hesitate due to this confusion. If Death's Door didn't accomplish his aims, then he'll just use another. Shadow flames. An ember of dark purple flames leaped out from Curse of Destruction. Yu Wenzu didn't use any more large-scale spells like Death's Door. After all, it was unfair to expect Lu Hanwen to cover him all by himself. Thankfully, Zheng Xuan passed by and helped out a bit, but now, Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan were both far away, having gone around the flanks. They couldn't help out over here anymore. Swaxa's casting had to sync with the rhythm flowing clouds was setting. Shadow Flames was successfully cast, the dark purple flames flickering. When this skill hit, then the target would take damage over time. Each tick of damage would interrupt casting. Thus, this ball of flame was thrown at Boundless Sea. No matter how dirty Fang Rui played his Chi Master, he couldn't escape the fact that many of the Chi Master's skills required casting. If Boundless Sea let it hit, then his attacks would be restricted. If he dodged, then he would give Zhu Jingxi an opening and chance. A healer under siege was restricted to just waiting to be saved. He was using his own methods to struggle, trying to find an opportunity. Now, an opportunity had come. Fang Rui was unwilling to be CC'd by Shadow Flame and immediately had Boundless Sea dodge. Yu Wenzu's choice of target was very clear and thought out. He had a clear view of the situation. Making Fang Rui dodge would be able to give an opening. Thus, Shadow Flame flew out, Boundless Sea dodged, and Zhu Jingxi immediately understood, his heavily armored paladin taking one step this way. One step, just one step. As Soul Speaker managed this step, his back suddenly tensed before his body was thrown into the air. Circle swing. Lord Grimm, who had fallen in the explosion of Death's Door, had stood up again and returned to crush the hope that Blue Rain just saw. Crash. Soul Speaker was slammed into the ground. "Where do you think you're running, brat?" Steamed Bun yelled into the chat. His tone, demeanor. It was like he didn't know he was a rookie. "I would have been fine even without your help." Fang Rui suddenly said. Huh? Steamed Bun replied. Not you, Steamed Bun. Ye Xiu typed a reply as fast as he could, though he knew that Fang Rui was talking to him, but if they let Steamed Bun misunderstand, then things would go downhill very fast. We're counting on you, Steamed Bun. Fang Rui also broke out into cold sweat, hurriedly pitching in and making sure that Steamed Bun was focused and happy. You can count on me. Steamed Bun was delighted, and Steamed Bun Invasion quickly pinned Soul Speaker and gave him a beating. Tyrannical Chain Punch was sent out like some sort of low-level skill, very wastefully unleashed onto Soul Speaker. Ye Xiu and Fang Rui's hearts calmed. Let him be as wasteful as he wants. It's better than going completely out of it. It's all up to you. Ye Xiu once again made sure Steamed Bun focused, but his words had a second meaning. Fang Rui understood, knowing that Ye Xiu was actually talking to him. As for Steamed Buns, the other cheerfully gave an acknowledging reply. Fang Rui didn't dare tell him the truth of the matter. Lord Grim was originally in the windy zone, but now he charged out with a tailwind. Lord Grim didn't go after troubling rain on the right or bullet rain on the left, instead charging directly at Swaxar. Swaxar, who only had flowing clouds protecting him, charged Shincut. 2 skills, 1 change of direction. Swaxar's skill was dodged, but Flowing Cloud's greatsword Flame Shadow was already crashing towards Lord Grim's head. Collapsing Mountain. Without Huang Shaoshan there to cover him, Lu Hanwen's Collapsing Mountain wasn't executed so wildly, instead more reserved, in a way that gave him the ability to advance and attack or retreat and switch as he need. However, there was no switching so quickly. Lu Hanwen could only keep up with Lord Grim with his view. Just as the Collapsing Mountain was about to hit, Lord Grim turned once again. Colliding Stab. With another movement skill, Lord Grim brushed right past the Collapsing Mountain. Lu Hanwen wanted to change the direction of his slash, but he couldn't make it in time. He had never felt encumbered by Flame Shadow's slow speed. Though he was just a young teen, Lu Hanwen liked this sturdy weight. Every strike, every hit had him feel content and satisfied. But now, when this strike hit the ground heavily, his heart felt exceptionally empty. Seeing Lord Grim's colliding stab dart under his Collapsing Mountain and striking true at Swaxar, the captain he had been protecting, Lu Hanwen, for the first time, thought to himself, if only this sword was a little bit faster. He was wavering. This determined, optimistic and hard-working young man was helpless in this crucial moment, and finally began to doubt his choice of wielding his greatsword. Where's your mind wandering off to, huh? Focus, focus, focus. That was when Blue Rain's team chat was suddenly flooded with these words. Huang Shaoshan was the only one who spoke or typed like that. But Wuxia Focus. The audience was thinking to themselves, there wasn't anyone not focusing. In their eyes, Blue Rain's players were all very focused and doing their best. Although Lu Hanwen failed to stop Lord Grim and Yu Wenzu failed to avoid the attack, they were definitely paying attention. They were focused and doing their best. Who's not focused? Pan Lin was also asking. Thus, Li Yibo's attention wavered as he realized he couldn't answer. It was happening again. Whenever the match was at its most intense, there would be more he didn't understand. Lu Hanwen's face burned. Everyone else was confused, but he was more than clear on the fact that it was him Huang Shaoshan was telling to pay attention. It wasn't saying that he failed to stop Lord Grim because he wasn't paying attention, but after he failed, there was a moment of hesitation, a moment where he wavered and doubted. It was just an instant, but Huang Shaoshan saw right through him. Lu Hanwen was ashamed of himself. protect Captain Swaksar. In the past that was always Huang Shaoshan's responsibility. Thus, Blue Rain used a strategy where Swaksar was bait and Huang Shaoshan executed a sneak attack to deal a crippling blow. This time, taking into consideration that it might be harder to move around in these windy zones, the job of protecting the captain was passed to him. And what did he do? After failing to block his opponent's assault, he had begun to waver. And this instant had Huang Shaoshan taken notice. This might be because he never wavered. He made mistakes, and failed to protect Swaksar sometimes, but Huang Shaoshan had never, ever wavered. His tendency to ramble had been pointed out again and again over these years, but when had he ever hesitated and decided to change? Okay, that wasn't the best example, but Lu Hanwen felt Huang Shaoshan's determination through the other, noticing his own wavering. There was no wavering. You can't waver. Take your choice with you to the end. Ha! The great sword switched directions, cutting through the wind with a sound like Lu Hanwen's inner roar. Flowing cloud slashed at Lord Grim, determined. Boom 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 boom. Cannon fire blocked his way. Dancing Rain had begun to support Lord Grim from afar. Lu Hanwen's rescue mission had suffered a setback, but now he had readjusted his state of mind. Lu Hanwen never lacked courage. What he lacked was the calm that their captain Yuan Zhu conducted himself with, the cold determination Huang Shaoshan displayed. And right now, he didn't rush into things and use up all his energy. He carefully surveyed the situation, contemplative. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Happy's healer, Little Cold Hands, was really close. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1475. Steady. Audio source, Wuxia-World-Audiobook.com. Chapter 1475. Steady. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. From realization to decision, Lu Hanwen was resolute. He abandoned his captain, Swaksar, with no hesitation and rushed towards Little Cold Hands. / Shadow Steps. Two skills were used one after the other. The Xing'ux from / had yet to disappear, when Flowing Cloud split into several shadows, which spread throughout the field. In an instant, Little Cold Hands was tightly surrounded. Oh oh oh! The crowd cheered. Everyone had been worried about Swaksar's safety, but Lu Hanwen decisively gave up on his captain and pounced towards Happy's healer. What will the outcome be? There was no time to think about it carefully. It was just that usually, when a pro player did something unexpected, it would turn out to be a brilliant godly play. Hua 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 hua. Wild applause followed soon afterwards. After getting trapped by shadow steps, Little Cold Hands was indeed helpless. Lu Hanwen could perfectly control 7 shadows to the extent that not even a Glory senior player could quickly distinguish the real from the fake. How could a rookie like Wenyi do so? Even so, Lu Hanwen was completely focused on his playing. He didn't underestimate or look down on Team Happy's so-called weak point. The purpose of Shadow Steps was to confuse the opponent, but the true aim of his play was to land an attack. The course of events from / to Shadow Steps to Flowing Cloud attacking took place in the span of merely 1 or 2 seconds. When Flowing Cloud's greatsword, Flame Shadow, cut Little Cold Hands, the after images from the sequence could still be seen. When Little Cold Hands was knocked to the ground from the attack, the applause became even more thunderous. From the audience's perspective, Lu Hanwen had successfully accomplished his goal with that strike hitting. But artillery fire arrived shortly afterwards to rescue Wenyi. Su Muchung's Dancing Rain had been circling around the edges of the area the entire time. Every point on the battlefield was within her range. Lu Hanwen's decision had been too sudden, and Su Muchung hadn't been able to react in time to it, which was why her support only came now. Lu Hanwen wasn't surprised. He had expected Su Muchung's launcher to try to stop him. Her screen cannon tactic was an important point that Team Blue Rain had emphasized during their match preparations. However, at this distance, Lu Hanwen was confident that he could lock down Little Cold Hands while dodging Dancing Rain's attacks. After all, his target was a cleric without any combat threat, making it much easier for him to deal with. Flowing Cloud dodged as he swung his sword at Little Cold Hands. Lu Hanwen was mainly focused on Su Muchung's attacks. As long as he wasn't disrupted by her, he could pin down Happy's healer without a problem. In that case, Happy should send more people to rescue him. No. That was Lu Hanwen's plan. Their healer, Soul Speaker, was also in Happy's hands, but Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan were going to rescue him. Even if Happy wanted to trade healers, they would need to make some adjustments to the current situation. The easiest and most effective way was for Yi Shu's Lord Grim to change targets to Lu Hanwen. Lu Hanwen didn't neglect Lord Grim. Since this was the most likely outcome, he obviously wouldn't let the opportunity go by. He would use it to give Blue Rain the initiative, which was exactly what they need. But no movement. Lord Grim didn't make any changes and continued to attack Swaxar. Swaxar was a warlock. His close combat capabilities were better than healers, but it was still very limited. What's more, Yu Wenzu's crippled hand speed against Yi Shu's unspecialized blitz. Lu Hanwen didn't want to think about it. If he thought about it any longer, he felt like he would be disrespecting his captain. But if Yi Shu wasn't concerned about Lu Hanwen's side, did that mean he thought Su Muchung was enough to resolve the problem? It looks like I'm not putting on enough pressure. I need to let Happy feel that just Su Muchung alone won't be enough to get their healer away from me. Continue attacking. Compared to before, Lu Hanwen's offense was bolder. It was as if he wouldn't let stop even if he died. But still no movement. Lord Grim's attacks were still focused on Swaxar, not a single attack missing. Lu Hanwen wanted to see if Lord Grim was ever looking towards his side, but the unspecialized defense was just too fast. His weapon just kept on transforming. Lord Grim's positioning, posture, and movements would constantly change according to the weapon's transformations. Whenever he looked towards his side, was it a coincidence or was he actually taking note of the situation there? Lu Hanwen didn't know, but he had just learned from first-hand experience. This time, he couldn't waver. If he let go of Little Cold Hands to rescue his captain, wouldn't that mean he was just wasting his time with those previous attacks? In a high-level competition, there was no place for wasted actions. Even if he had made the wrong choice, he had to take it all the way through and pave a path of blood through his mistake. Flowing Cloud attacked even more ferociously. Because of the great sword in his hands, it sometimes felt like he was a berserker instead of a blade master. Coach Li, what your thoughts? Pan Lin couldn't help but ask Li Yibo for his opinion again. There are a lot of different exchanges taking places. It's hard to make any definite conclusions. Li Yibo said. When you say exchanges, are you referring to Blue Rain's healer, Happy's healer, and Yu Wenzu? Pan Lin said. Yes. At first glance, Blue Rain seems to be trading 2 for 1, but they're about to go rescue their healer. As for Happy's side, Su Muchung is evidently not able to suppress Lu Hanwen alone. As a result, the outcome is dependent on Blue Rain's side. If Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan are able to rescue Soul Speaker, the initiative will fall into Blue Rain's hands. Li Yibo analyzed. In other words, Huang Shaoshan's and Zheng Xuan's performances are key, Pan Lin said. Yes, but what gave this opportunity to turn things around was Lu Hanwen's brave act. If not, even if Blue Rain was able to rescue Zhu Dingxi, it would just result in an even playing field. However, now, Blue Rain has a chance to establish the upper hand. Li Yibo said. Got it. Pan Lin nodded his head. The stream couldn't focus on the entire battlefield anymore, since the battle had split into different sections. As the two commentators talked, the camera focused on what the two had determined to be the key area, Blue Rain's rescue operation towards Soul Speaker. Soul Speaker could persist for a long time. For one, he wore plate armor, so his defense was incredibly high. In addition, Zhu Dingxi was a tenacious player. If even a small opening appeared to heal or to buff his defense, he would immediately do so. Blue Rain was a team proficient at defense. As the healer, he was an expert at rescuing others and serving in defensive situations. This guy's really annoying to deal with. Fang Rui let out a sigh, seeing Huang Shaoxun's troubling rain and Zheng Xuan's bullet rain coming in from the sides of the wind zone. Don't worry, I'm here. Steamed Bun was full of confidence, although no one knew if that stemmed from actual confidence or from not knowing how serious the situation was. Enemy reinforcement has arrived, Fang Rui reminded Steamed Bun. You've got it. Steamed Bun played it down. You really make things sound so simple. Fang Rui coughed blood. The two weren't having much trouble bullying a healer, so the two had the time to chat. But the situation would soon turn more serious. WuxaWorldAudio.com. Happy currently held the initiative because they had Blue Rain's healer as their hostage. However, if Blue Rain successfully saved their healer, not only would they lose their hostage, the hostage would turn into a powerful shield for the enemy. That would be bad. Pull him over this way. Fang Rui called out to Steamed Bun. I'll do what you say. Steamed Bun replied. Don't let the enemies figure out what we're trying to do. Fang Rui said. Switch channels. Steamed Bun asked. Okay. 11,111. Steamed Bun made his existence known in Happy's team chat. The Blue Rain fans were furious. Those two bastards were bullying their healer as they played around in the public chat. What do you mean don't let the enemies know our intentions? They were obviously just bluffing. The fans could see Happy's chat. No one answered Steamed Bun's 11,111. But at this moment, Happy's captain, the terrifying Yi Xiu, suddenly typed a single word, steady. Steady. Steady what? The current situation. If they could steady the current situation, Happy would make a 1-for-2 trade. That would obviously be great, but the question was, could they steady it? Huang Shaoxun's and Zheng Xuan's invasion would turn the healer situation into a 3v2. That didn't seem to be something that could easily be stabilized. It was just one word, but it brought up a lot of speculation. Pan Lin couldn't avoid asking Li Yibo again for his opinions, which made Li Yibo want to hack his partner to death. Explain this match was hard enough already. Now, Pan Lin wanted him to explain Yi Xiu's intentions. It was as if Pan Lin wanted to see him fall into a pit. Li Yibo cursed inwardly at Pan Lin, but on the stream, he had no choice but to give his view on the matter. Yi Xiu probably has some way to help out Fang Rui and Steamed Bun. Li Yibo basically said nothing. Some way to help out. There were a total of 5 characters on each team. The possible support could only come from one of them. Fang Rui and Steamed Bun were the ones who need help, so that was 2 eliminated. And Wen Yi was also someone who desperately need help, so he could be eliminated too. Yi Xiu had Blue Rain's Yu Wenzhou in his grasp. He could let go of Yu Wenzhou to help Fang Rui and Steamed Bun, but that would also mean Blue Rain would have more help in their rescue operation too. Finally, there was Su Mucheng. Su Mucheng was best at providing support and coordinating with her teammates. What was she doing now? The broadcast director hastily searched for Su Mucheng's Dancing Rain. When the director found her, the director was startled. Dancing Rain's location. Dancing Rain stood at the far end of the field, and there was no one else near her. As a result, the camera hadn't placed much focus on her. She was still a part of several battles though. When Lu Hanwen had chosen to attack Little Cold Hands, her attempts to stop him had received some focus. Because she wasn't able to suppress Flowing Cloud though, Su Mucheng kept on adjusting Dancing Rain's positioning, attempting to get closer. Now that the camera had switched to her, everyone could see. Was Su Mucheng's adjustments aimed towards Lu Hanwen's Flowing Cloud? No. She was planning on providing support to the central battle taking place in the Wind Zone. End chapter.